If you're working as a health, fitness, or wellness professional, you're going to run into some clients that are using ox bile, and you may be even telling your clients to supplement with ox bile. And ox bile can bring about a lot of benefits. It can help a person actually digest their food better, and I'm going to explain why that is in this video. And it can really help clients digest their dietary fats better. It can help them emulsify or break down those dietary fats. It can also help a client access their fat-soluble vitamins and be able to assimilate those fat-soluble vitamins. It can even help some people correct a chronic diarrhea issue. So it can be very beneficial in a wide variety of ways, but our body is kind of set up to do all those things already. So we really prefer to see clients correct their natural bile function when that's an option. If your shower broke in the house, you wouldn't just drag the hose into the living room and hose yourself down. You would fix the shower. So we like to see people fix their natural bile function. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand who should try to fix their natural bile function, which clients really do need to supplement with ox bile, and which clients it's a horrible idea to supplement with ox bile and it's actually going to make things much worse. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So before we can figure out which clients should be taking ox bile, we really need to understand what is this bile doing in the body. So when we eat food, our stomachs make hydrochloric acid, or HCl. And this HCl is made to help us start to acidify that food so that it can be broken down properly. Now once this food is acidified, it'll leave the stomach and go into the duodenum, which is the first 10 inches of the small intestine. And in the duodenum, the gallbladder will squirt alkaline bile down onto that acidic product that left the stomach. So when this acidic product meets with this alkaline bile, it creates a sizzle. And this sizzle helps us really bust that food apart and pull all the nutrients out of that food. So the bile is very important to help us alkalize that acidic product that leaves the stomach and neutralize those acids. But the bile also helps us emulsify our dietary fats so that those fats can be broken down and properly used by the body. So we can see that this bile is a crucial aspect to really helping our clients digest their food correctly so that they can get the nutrients out of that food. Now, if someone has lost their gallbladder, and you're going to run into clients who've lost their gallbladder, it just happens. But when there's no gallbladder, there's no storage for that bile. So there's no bolus there to come down and help neutralize those acids and really help create that sizzle and really help digestion work the way that it's supposed to work. Now, it is possible that even without a gallbladder, that when the liver makes bile, it can still trickle down through that biliary pathway. It kind of trickle down into the intestinal tract all the time, just a little bit at a time, all the time. And that may help someone digest their fats a little bit, but in most cases, it's not going to be enough to really create that sizzle and help neutralize those acids and to provide enough bile to really digest an entire meal of dietary fat. But for some clients, that biliary pathway can even be blocked. And when they have their gallbladder removed, it was so backed up that it even backed up that pathway. And you really want that pathway working so detoxification can work. We'll talk about that in a second. But if a client has lost their gallbladder, they're probably going to need to take some ox bile supplementation. And when they need to take it, they kind of need to take it forever. They kind of need to replace that function for as long as they're going to eat food. But if a client does still have their gallbladder, here's the first reason why it's better to actually fix the natural bile function instead of supplementing with ox bile. When the liver removes toxins and filth from the body, it puts a lot of that filth into the bile. And then when that bile flows down and helps us digest our food, the bile continues to carry that filth through the intestinal tract and then out the back door when we poop like a champion. So this bile is actually the body's main detox pathway. And the problem is that it's really common for a client's bile to become too thick and sticky to flow correctly, and then it doesn't flow down. And the gallbladder is made to concentrate that bile, so it makes the bile more effective. But if the bile becomes too thick and sticky to flow correctly, it'll stay in the gallbladder and continue to concentrate until it forms into stones, and then they have to have their gallbladder yanked out, and then they don't have that gallbladder anymore. So when a client's bile isn't flowing correctly, we want to help them thin that out so that it can flow correctly and they get that natural bile function so that they can not only digest their food better, but they actually can use that detoxification pathway and get the filth out of the body. So we'll talk about how to thin the bile out with your clients at the end of this video, but the second reason that it's better to fix the natural bile pathway is because ox bile is alkaline. That's part of its purpose. And when you take ox bile supplements, it has to go through the stomach, which is going to neutralize the stomach acid. So we don't want to neutralize the stomach acid. We want the acid in the stomach to be able to break down that food correctly. The bile is supposed to come from outside of the stomach. It's supposed to meet that acid product food once it leaves the stomach. It should never go through the stomach. So when we have to take ox bile, we're actually working against our digestion. It has the ability to turn off digestion. So if you have a client that's lost their gallbladder and they need to supplement with ox bile, it should really happen away from food. One of the biggest mistakes with ox bile is people take it with food and then they're turning off their stomach acid and they're turning off that digestive process. It's even a huge problem with supplement manufacturers. They give us all these digestive enzymes and things that are supposed to help us digest our food better, but they put ox bile in there and then tell somebody to take it with their food and it's actually turning off that digestive process. So we'd like to see clients take ox bile on an empty stomach so that that ox bile is not turning off the stomach acid when the stomach acid is needed to break down that food. Or we tell clients to take the ox bile 1 to 3 hours after their meal. So that gives time for that meal to acidify in the stomach, and then the ox bile can come down and help that neutralizing factor take place as it moves out of the stomach. So the timing and the dose of the ox bile will vary greatly from client to client. A lot of clients will have to kind of test things out and see what's going to work best for them. But it's really important to get that ox bile away from food so that the food can come in and get acidified properly. So you can see by fixing a client's actual bile function, then the bile can come down outside of the stomach. It doesn't have to interfere with that digestive process. Now, there are clients who might not be producing enough bile, and then if they were to take ox bile, that would help the body actually be triggered to produce more ox bile. So that can be beneficial, but it's actually very rare to see the people who are not producing enough bile. In most cases, you're going to see that the bile has become too thick and sticky to flow correctly, so then you really want to take steps to thin that bile out. Now here's a situation where it's really not a good idea for your clients to use ox bile even if they have lost their gallbladder. And that's if they're dealing with constipation, burping, bloating, acid reflux. All of these are signs that there's not enough stomach acid. So if they're going to go and take some ox bile, they're going to turn off that stomach acid even more and magnify all of those symptoms. Now the only scenario where you might want to have them start taking it anyways is if they're dealing with chronic diarrhea. Because chronic diarrhea is really common if someone's lost their gallbladder, because remember that bile is supposed to come down and neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach. So when there's no gallbladder there to drop that bolus down on there, then it's really common to see chronic diarrhea because those stomach acids were made to break down protein. Well, guess what the intestinal tract is made of? It's made of protein. So the body doesn't want that digesting a hole through the intestinal tract. The client's going to leak chicken nuggets all over their insides. So the body will bring all the water possible to that intestinal tract to kind of cool down those acids, and then it'll rush it through the system as fast as it can and lift the client off the toilet like a rocket and shoot them in the air. So we really don't want to see that happen, so we can use ox bile sometimes to slow down that chronic diarrhea situation. Now, you're going to hear from other professionals that'll say, hey, don't use ox bile when you have chronic diarrhea because it's going to make it worse. Because ox bile is like this soapy substance that helps us emulsify our fats, and it's kind of like this slippery substance. So it can help things move through the intestinal tract a little bit easier. So they feel like it's going to magnify the situation. But these people have not experienced this with their clients. They're going to see that, like with chronic diarrhea, it's usually going to help it because it's going to alkalize that stool to slow down the stool. And if somebody's dealing with chronic constipation, it's often going to make it worse by making that stool more alkaline and slowing down the stool even more. So the timing again is going to be the trickiest part. If they get it too close to a meal, they may magnify like bloating or acid reflux or those symptoms that can come from low stomach acid. And if they get it too far away from their meal, they may get those chronic diarrhea issues because it's not getting neutralized in time. So you'll have to kind of tweak that. And if you need help figuring that out, my book Health Pro Results helps you walk through figuring out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly with clients and then what steps you can help them take. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free. And if you're not a health professional, you just happened across this video because you like the topic, we'll put a link so you can get our book, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, for free, and that's more made for consumers, and that'll walk you through those same situations. But when clients do still have their gallbladder, you really want to help them thin out that bile so they can restore the natural bile function and have the body work like it's supposed to work. So jump over right now and watch our video on 5 steps to help clients thin their bile out so you can get insights on how to get that going. I can't wait to hear about your results.